Good morning.
Good morning.
How are we doing this morning?
Awesome.
Well, that was a very interesting start this morning. I got through the whole thing, and in my mind, there's really nothing left to say to get your spiritual message today. You got it from Bruce, and you got it from Alara, and you missed the last part of that conversation before Anthony come in. I said to her, I could hardly wait till you see how you introduce me. She said, yeah, I might use your alter ego. I said, well, maybe my altar ego.
I missed that part.
Isn't that fun? Yeah, that's great, eh? That was a little subtlety I thought I'd fill in. But you know, that's one of the key elements in a spiritual message is to be able to have something you can learn from that invokes that deep, heartfelt feeling as well as humor. And we got them both there. And I want to go back. Bruce kind of ruined my whole talk. But he made it real easy. I really was going to talk about Dad's Day after I did the confidence, but it ain't going to happen that way now. When Bruce was standing up here, he said, he says, I don't want to preach or deliver a sermon. And Bruce, that's exactly what you were doing. I want to honor you for that because there is no greater wisdom I've ever had. Thank you. We really put it there because I too am thinking a lot about my grandfathers and my father. And you know, as time goes on, they become smarter and smarter. And I am just astounded today at my age of the wisdom that I got from them and garnered from them. And so, you know, and the empty table, the loss, whether physically, emotionally, or mentally, we have as fathers when our families members are not present physically because they can't be, or emotionally because of some estrangement that's happened. So it's a very interesting topic, and Bruce covered that very well. I wanted to talk about something else there, to honor the mothers that were single that had to be fathers. Okay, we forget about that because they had to be that way. Okay? Thank you, and then we've got to look at the fathers who had to be mothers that were single fathers. Any of us here? Okay? So, you know, there's other ways that we need to expand and embrace these ideas of Father's Day and Mother's Day. Then there's the everyday good and ordinary dads. And then we got this other masculine trait called abuse. And you got to address it. It's Father's Day, folks. Sorry. And you got the guys that are abusers that don't want help, and thank God we got laws and we need people to deal with it. But we got people that are not just physically abusers, but emotionally abusers. And they don't know how to deal with it. They live with that, and they don't like it. They're sorry for it, but they don't know how to deal with it, you see. And part of it, through my own experience of being an angry man for many years, it was I just didn't know how to express my feelings properly. And if I did express how I felt, I wouldn't be a man. I'd be something less. And I got to tell you, that's the biggest detriment in this society for men today, is not creating a place where it's safe for a man to say how he really feels. And I've done that in my home ministry, okay? And I was not happy with the kind of person I was because I didn't know how to do it, but I'm happy with the person I've become. I had an experience the other day that I walked out in my back alley and there was a mother duck and 8 ducklings there, and they were destined for disaster. A few blocks from 16th, 19th Street, 24th Avenue, and Crowchild Trail. And you would not believe the feeling that I had inside of me. It was just unbelievable. I could not walk away and leave it. So I went through the whole process and eventually got them tracked down, got them trapped, got all 8 of them in the box, got them in there, and went down and got them up to Confederation Park. and took them down there and let them go. And I got a picture I posted on Facebook and Instagram of it. But then I did something that I just stood there and cried. I was just so happy with what I had done and done that. And it was okay for me to do that. And you know, I'm a big tough guy, and I went through a lot. Years and years and gangs and stuff like that. But I don't have no problem doing that because I don't care what anybody thinks. Because I have the courage to do what it is. And I want to say that to men, it's time we step forward, and women that have a hard time, and start learning how to do this appropriately. And then, of course, there's the other end of the scale, and we got to watch and help this. There's a lot of men that are abused. And not just emotionally, but physically. And we got James back there, Murray. James, stand up. He's got a great work going. You could talk to him about it if you're interested in getting involved. He'd be more than happy to tell you about it. He's stepping out. I mean, he's a front runner. You know, we had all this thing with men coming out. If you were bi, you could come out, or gay, or transgender, and everything like that. It's time that abused men stepped up and come out because there's no shame in it. Yeah. And then we could do something about it. So, a new perspective on Father's Day, that we could look at everybody and see a little bit of man in every man in us for the ladies, and vice versa with the men. And it's time that we started developing that and not being afraid of who we are, and step out and show who we really are. Because it hurts to be vulnerable, but it's better to be vulnerable than to hold on to that pain for the long time of your life. And that's it for Father's Day. Okay. And of course, this all has to flow into confidence. You have to have confidence to step out and step forward. And in order to have confidence, we've got to learn how to develop it. It just doesn't come. It's there, but we've got to nurture it and develop it. And so we need to do it small steps. It doesn't have to be big. With focus, we've got to have the willingness. We've got to bring out the courage that we have. And we've got to have our spiritual conviction. Pure and simple, faith and trust. They call it believe in the Bible. It's trust. And you got to have faith. And it isn't, all this can be declared, and it must be declared first, but the declaration of itself is simply just that. Words. Words aren't going to cut it. We actually have to prove the words. And the only way to prove the words is to step and risk out. Risk and step out. Okay? You gotta risk and step out. Otherwise, we be consumed and we're a prisoner to the comfort zone that we've created for ourselves. That's the core of my teaching. It's self-sabotage. I was a prisoner of my own mind. And that's what we are. And the only way to break free from being a prisoner is to focus on what we want, to have the courage to try and give it a go, the willingness to be open and receptive, whatever it means, and that spiritual conviction, the faith and the trust. And that'll see us through a multitude of different things. So the first thing, and the most important one, and this is not going to be a lesson on fear. How to deal with fear is a different thing altogether. There's lots of different ways. However, in order to have that confidence, we have to be able to manage our fear, because our fear will paralyze us and immobilize us. Anybody stop because they were afraid? So there's two ways you got to look at your fear. The first one you're not going to really like. But it's true if you got the courage to look at it. We allow our lesser fear to justify our greater fear. What do you mean by that? Anybody ever been interested in a man or a woman and you wanted to maybe have a date with them, so you were thinking about giving them a call for coffee? Anybody ever done that? Yeah. And then you didn't. Why? Because everybody says, most people say, well, I was afraid they'd reject me. So, well, that's not the end. That's not the truth, you know. That's the one we give. How many people here have been rejected? How many have learned to manage with it? Okay, so you see, it doesn't seem reasonable that we allow that to justify not doing something, but we do it all the time. I'm just using relationships for an example, but I'm sure you'll find other areas. Okay? So what do I mean? The lesser fear to justify the greater fear. Because that's the lesser fear. What's the greater fear? The greater fear isn't, they're going to say no, that's the lesser fear. The greater fear is, the answer's going to be yes!
Yeah.
Then what the heck are you going to do? I'm sure lots of people go through finding out things that they'd like to do and then come up with a reason why they don't do it because they didn't want to be rejected when it didn't work. Think about it, folks. Not too long because your list will get really big. Okay? Because usually it's not the no answer, it's the yes answer that we're afraid of. But we're good at cloaking it, especially when you get into this philosophy. You become way more sophisticated. Well, I'm not going to do that now because I'm going in the flow. Anybody go in the flow? Check it out, folks. Is it the river or the sewer? Because they both flow. Okay. Second one is to know the most amazing thing is that confidence grows when fear's not present. Now, I kind of knew this, I'll tell you how later, kind of innately all my life, but when it really settled home was when I went through the burnout. And I lost everything. I was destitute because I thought I knew all the right answers. Obviously, I didn't. And I'm there one day and I'm out in the mountains. Didn't know what I'm doing. I'm going up Ribbon Falls and I by the way, growing up in the mountains, being a mountain man, I still have a fear of heights, okay? So I have to manage that all the time. Hard thing to deal with, but interesting. It doesn't stop me, though. And there I am. I'm up there one day, and I'm by myself, and I'm going up Ribbon Falls, and there's chains. You got to pull up the cliff, and you got to kind of lean back. And, you know, if you fall, you might live. It'll be painful. And I'm up there one day, and I'm there on the chains, and I'm looking down. And you know, I was at that place where I was at in my life where I really didn't care whether I lived or died. Anybody ever been there? And you know, I don't recommend you do it this way to practice. I didn't really care whether I lived or died. And so all of a sudden I noticed I reached back with one hand and one foot like this off the, I didn't tell anybody. Sorry, Anna, but I didn't know you then. Off the cliff like this, and I look it down and I go, I'm not afraid. Honest to God, I didn't have an ounce of fear in me because I didn't care. Okay? So the bottom line is, really the fear is always about something that might happen. It's never about something that is going on. It's always about something that might happen. So our job is to work beyond what might happen, get God involved and leave it up to the boss, and deal with what we need to do. And step into the eye of the storm. I am calm, I am centered, I am peaceful, I am poised at all times and in all situations. Might seems like I know that well. Yeah, 11 straight years, all day long I work with that, my favorite one, because I needed it. And that's the other thing. I learned at a very young age that if there was chaos and confusion around me, and I could remain calm, I could manipulate and control loads of people and circumstances, situations, my siblings, my parents, the RCMP, and other troublemakers. I learned about the eye of the storm. You know, in a hurricane, the calmness is in the eye, in the center. So I learned about it at a young age because I didn't know this philosophy or anything. I created the storm around me. You get that? So I always had chaos around me, and then I was in control. Didn't didn't matter whether it was the law, it didn't matter who it was, gangsters, anybody. Okay? I never really understood that that was a principle and a philosophy and that I could actually use it for good. Okay? And so, when we step into that storm and we stay calm, centered, peaceful, poised, and focused, then, and walk there and park the fear. You can have fear, it's okay. If you don't have it, you should be scared. Park the fear, you can pick it up later, but you gotta deal with the situation. You gotta be in the eye. Because Spirit can guide you, lead you, direct you, but you cannot get the clear statements or the urges if you're petrified. It cannot work through that because you can't get it clearly. You have to create a clear place. Oh, you might say that's easy to say. You're darn right it's easy to say. But you've got to practice. Now, you don't have to go get somebody pointing a gun at your head like I had or do this and that. You don't have to do that to prove it. You can do it just in everyday, day-to-day tasks like going to a lawyer or an accountant or whatever, the CRA. God forbid that requires extra work. See me, I know how. I taught a lot of them. That's a different story. So we got to find the eye. And we got to learn to walk with the storm. And we got to learn to position our head properly. What am I good at? What I can do, what I can have, what I am. That'll keep me in the center of the storm. What I can't do, what I'm not good at, what I can't have, or what I'm not, will take me out of the eye of the storm and will put me in the conflict. If one could just practice those and those alone, and then know that you're walking in faith and trust, that means, if I have faith and trust, that means I got to park worrying and doubt. Because those are futuristic things over which I got no control. Do you ever worry about things that are happening yesterday? More about what's going to happen tomorrow. Do you doubt about what you've done? More so about what you're going to do. Okay? But faith and trust is something you can demonstrate right here and right now by how you conduct and manage your inner house. So I know for each and every one of us that each and every one of us has the ability to walk into the storm with confidence and to face life with confidence. However, always remember that is in every storm, there's a little bit of ice around the edges, and you could be in the center and slip and fall and whack. Has that ever happened to you? Yeah, and then you get up and dead, curse the storm. Well, you just got to get up and get back in the eye. Are you going to slip and fall? If you don't, I want to know about it because I've never heard it being done before. Okay, so don't think, oh, well, I got this message, I'm going to do it, everything's wonderful, because it isn't. You got to work at it to help keep it wonderful. And it'll keep getting better because we are worthy of the very best in life, and we lovingly accept it now, and so it is.
So it is.
Amen.